really think about it for a second. A smartphone is just a smartphone, and coffee is just coffee, right? Yet millions and millions of us happily pay way more for these specific brands. So what is really going on here? What's the secret?
So, how are you pricing your product right now? If you're starting with what it costs to make, you might be leaving a ton of money on the table. Today, we're going to crack open a pricing strategy that the world's biggest brands use to completely change the game. It's called value pricing.
I mean, really think about it for a second. A smartphone is just a smartphone, and coffee is just coffee, right? Yet millions and millions of us happily pay way more for these specific brands. So what is really going on here? What's the secret?
Well, the secret has almost nothing to do with how much these things actually cost to make. It's all about what we, the customers, believe they're worth. And that one simple shift in thinking, well, it changes the entire game.
Okay, so here is the big twist. You'd think the price has everything to do with how much it costs to make the thing, right? The parts, the labor, all that. Well, nope. For these premium brands, that's not really the main event at all.
The real secret isn't in the factory or the supply chain, it's in our heads. It all comes down to perception, to emotion, and what we feel a product is worth. We're not just buying an object, we're paying for a feeling.
So this whole powerful idea, it actually has a name. It's called value pricing. Let's break down this really simple but kind of game-changing concept that explains everything about why these brands can charge what they do.
Okay, so here's the textbook definition. It completely flips the old model on its head. Instead of looking inward at their own spreadsheets and costs, these companies look outward, to you. They ask, what is this worth to you? What value does it add to your life?
And at the end of the day, the logic is incredibly simple. If a company can make you believe that their product offers something more, better design, a cooler experience, maybe a little bit of status, then suddenly that high price tag starts to feel right.
So, how do they pull this off? It's not some kind of black magic, I promise. It's a real strategy, and it's built on 3 core pillars. This is the secret sauce, the actual framework that makes it all click.
It really just boils down to these 3 steps. First, you have to understand your customer, like really get what they care about. Second, you have to segment them, realize that not everyone wants the same thing, and tailor your offerings. And third, you have to communicate that value with a really compelling story. You master these 3, and that premium price practically justifies itself.
So the trick here is to create smart tiers or different packages based on what different groups really care about. You've got your convenience seekers who will pay a premium to save time. You've got prestige buyers who are all about status. Then there are the power users who want all the bells and whistles, and yeah, a budget group that just needs the basics. When you tailor your offers like this, you can pull in the maximum value from every single group.
And that brings us to the final and maybe the most important step. Because you can understand your customer perfectly, you can segment your market like a pro, but if you can't communicate the value, none of it matters. This is where you have to stop selling the airplane and start selling the vacation.
What this means is your marketing can't just be a boring list of features. It has to tell a story. A story about the feeling, the experience, the after picture of who your customer becomes. That's how you justify a higher price. You make the value so obvious, so compelling, that the cost suddenly feels like a total bargain.
Let's look at 3 absolute masters of the game, brands you see every single day that have built entire empires on this exact strategy. First up, of course, Apple. When you buy an iPhone, are you just buying a piece of glass and some circuits? No way. You're buying into this whole story of innovation. You're paying for the feel of that design in your hand. And yeah, let's be real, you're buying a little bit of a status symbol. That's the value they're selling.
And what about Starbucks? Come on, they're not just selling caffeinated bean water. They're selling a place that's not home and not work. They're selling comfort. They're selling a consistent experience, so your latte tastes the same in Tokyo as it does in Texas. And they're selling an association with a certain lifestyle. That's what you're really getting in that $5 cup.
Now Microsoft, they're the absolute wizards of that second pillar we talked about, smart segmentation. They know a college student doesn't need the same thing as a Fortune 500 company. So they create different tiers. For the student, the value is just getting affordable access to Word. For the corporation, the value is hardcore security and massive cloud features. Each price is perfectly tied to the specific value that group needs.
So let's just put it all together on one screen. It's amazing, right?
Three totally different companies, totally different industries, but they're all playing the exact same game. A phone, a coffee, some software. The product is just the container. The real thing they're selling is that perceived value.
You know, the reason this whole thing is so effective is because it kind of bypasses the rational part of our brain, the part that's always calculating costs. It speaks directly to our emotions, our identities, and what we aspire to be.
This strategy works because our buying decisions are driven by how we feel, not just by logic. When we feel like a brand gets us or stands for what we believe in, we become incredibly loyal. We stop being just a customer and start feeling like we're part of a tribe. That emotional bond is exactly why this is the go-to model for any unique or premium product.
So look, if you only remember one thing from this whole explainer, I want it to be this next idea. This is the absolute core of it all, boiled down to its simplest form.
In the world we live in today, trying to be the cheapest is just a race to the bottom. And the best brands, the ones that last, they know that's a game you can't win. It's not about having the lowest price tag on the shelf.
It's about being the most valuable in the hearts and minds of your customers. That's it. That's the whole game. True premium brands are built on value, not on cost. You know, there's a quote from the source material that just nails this. When a brand gets this right, the conversation totally changes. All the price comparisons just melt away. The customer just looks at it and says, I want that. And that brings us right back to the beginning, doesn't it? That crazy long line outside the Apple store, the packed Starbucks. It all makes perfect sense now. People aren't just buying stuff, they're buying what that stuff represents to them. So I'll leave you with this question. The next time you find yourself buying something premium, just pause for a second and ask yourself, what am I really buying here? Is it convenience? Is it status? Is it the experience? What's the invisible value that I'm actually paying for? The answer might surprise you.